Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Clickbait. Today I am joined by the amazing Luke's Doghouse. He's live every Monday at, is it noon your time? Noon Pacific?
Noon Pacific.
Noon Pacific. Noon Pacific. So make sure you tune into YouTube if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to him. I don't know why you wouldn't. He's got 10 times the amount of subscribers that I do. So you probably already subscribed to the guy. And then we also have Music is a Rainbow, who here was just, just an everyday life kind of thing for her, just in the back of the cop car here.
Mm-hmm.
And she also, you put out videos usually, I feel like every day during the week, pretty much, right? Like Monday to
I don't
Friday?
know. I don't really have a schedule. I just go with what feels right. I wanted to upload every day during the pandemic, but then it went much longer than anticipated.
Right.
Like originally we were told we had a stay-at-home order for, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I thought, yeah, I can do that. That's a little bit longer than Vlogmas, but now I've been worn down and I just upload if I feel like I have something to share or if a scammer calls me. So.
Right. Now, in your situation, like you have, what is it, like you took over someone's phone number or something along those lines, and scammers were familiar with that lady and that family, or like
Yeah,
how
it was an elderly couple that used to have our phone number. So we bought our house and they didn't live in this house. So phone numbers are transferred to anybody in the same city.
Oh.
So it was a couple named Roger and Sylvia, and it's pretty obvious that they've probably been scammed. And even their friends would call for them sometimes and ask for information about where they were. And finally, one of them tracked them down and found out they were in a nursing home. And then Roger passed away months after that. And I'm not sure if Sylvia is still alive or not. But because they always think that we're Roger and Sylvia, I just started taking on her identity when they call. So if they go, is this Sylvia? Yes, this is Sylvia. Or sometimes they don't ask for a name. I just assume that that's who they think they're calling. And if I say I'm Sylvia, then they think, aha, I have correct information on her.
So is that how you kind of got started with Scambaiting as well, or did you like watch?
Pretty much. I mean, we just got relentless calls after we got this phone number, and then there was one day where they called and it was an IRS scammer, and they actually named my husband. This time they weren't calling for Roger. They said that there was a warrant out for my husband. And even though I instantly knew it was a scam, it kind of made my heart race. So I understand why people get scared and freaked out. Like if people don't know it's a scam, that must be 10 times scarier. There's something very creepy about some foreigner calling and they know my husband's name and are saying that they're going to arrest him. So I just started screaming. I was pregnant at the time, started screaming at them and told them they better learn English before they think they can pull a scam over on me like that. So yeah, don't make me angry when I'm pregnant. You've seen I'm calm in most of my videos.
Hey, I have to apologize, guys. My kids are making noise in the background, so
are mine. So
maybe those are yours. Maybe those are your kids.
Luke would like to apologize for my kids.
Shoot, all my kids are sleeping.
I don't have any kids.
You got Mac, man.
Yeah, he's a little baby.
Yeah. So did Luke, did you also start receiving calls, or did you like get or did you watch like videos on it first?
I received calls first.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, the first call I ever got that got me into it. Actually, on my timeline, my buddy posted on my Facebook. Just I don't know, whenever I got into it, it was 3, 4 years ago today, when his phone started getting calls at our old place,
Mm.
and I was picking up and responding to him. But no, the first like real call that I got me wondering was when I got a call about taxes, and then I actually um, went online.
So you watched the video from Trilogy Media?
Yeah, and it was basically the same phone number was attached to their video from the scam I was getting. So I realized something was up. So I would just look up numbers on uh, Reddit, numbers. So I would just type up scam number on Facebook search, and
So I don't know what happened, Luke, but like we heard you, but it was like you said something about going on Reddit to look up scam numbers, and also on Facebook you would type in scam numbers on Facebook.
yeah, and that's how I just found numbers at the time. And then I just kind of infiltrated the mob by joining all these scam bait channels and hanging out with people and realizing the community was awesome. And that's what's kept me there the whole time, is the community.
Yeah, I didn't know that there were a bunch of scam bait videos when I started doing it. So I got a scam call one day, and it was a tech support scammer, and I put up a video just to make my Facebook friends laugh, and but I didn't put that one up public until later. But it was Adam, IRS Rex. Hi, I can talk. IRS scammers who first approached me and said, "Hey, how's it going?" And I do this too, and I just didn't know that there's like a whole community of people out there doing this, which is really cool because we like work together to get the number shut down. And it's really rewarding when I hear other scammers yelling, and then I think, oh, I wonder if they're yelling at Adam or one of my other friends.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I
No,
know.
that's exactly right. Because there a lot of times you actually like UFO. Like I've heard people pop up on his streams that are scam baiters. That when he's doing his I don't even know what you call it, where he's able to tap into their system and hear their calls
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. It's
yeah.
pretty cool.
He's got such a unique channel.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite channels to watch. Whenever he posts something, I'm always like, I got to make sure that I'm there because, yeah, I don't know, man. Like one time I think I messaged him on Twitter and I was like, hey man, like what you do is awesome. And he's just like, oh, it's not even that hard. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I don't know how to do that crap. You know what I mean? I'm like, it just looks amazing. Like,
Yeah.
to do that, like listen to calls from these scam centers, and is there, do you find like, I find like I don't really get mad with a lot of different types of scams. Like we hear so many of them. Like none of them really, like, they all piss me off equally, I guess you could say. But the one that actually like really irks me is the grandparent one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. That one really irks me, man. I
It's
don't know
probably
what
the
it
most
is about it.
entertaining one to listen to, though, just
You talking
because.
about the kidnapping one?
Well, they kind of change it up, but I think he's talking about the one that UFOs had a few times on in the last year, where the guys call up and basically say, "Hey, I got in an accident in New York. I had to come here for a bachelor party, and I'm going to jail for something that happened a long time ago. Can you send me some money?" But I've never heard one actually work. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny that they fuck with them back though. They're
Yeah.
like, the grandparents will mess with them back, and they'll be like, "Oh, is this Jimmy?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, this is Jimmy, Grandma. I got in a bad accident." And they're like, "Jimmy died 5 years ago. Fuck off."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, I wanted to share this that happened. My friend just posted this on June 29th. She said, "There's a cozy place in the ninth circle of hell for the scammer that called my father this morning and told him that they had taken his daughter, that they were holding a gun to her head and would pull the trigger if he didn't send them money. Fortunately, my dad has complete confidence in my survival skills and told them to go ahead. That is so evil, though. That
Yeah.
Yeah. Like those kinds of scams, I feel like they're so blatantly obvious that they're malicious, you know. And I feel like the tech support, the refund one, even the tax ones, you know, your social security number has been compromised. All those ones they're more of like a roundabout way of like, just so you know, there might be something we need to check this, and you know, we know you're an innocent person, like the SSA one, like, you know, we know you're innocent, right? And it's like, all right, but these ones are like straight up like there's a gun, you know, like what you just described. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
that's kind of gross.
They work on your fears. So that's what got me was when I got my tax call, they're saying you owe taxes. And I'm like, if this is true, I don't want to get my paychecks, you know, garnished or like whatever. So I need to figure this out. So I'd call back and they'd just be so unprofessional. It'd be like, hey, I just got a call about my tax. It'd be like, oh, go fuck off. Click. And it's like, what? This is the weirdest IRS call I've ever got. Let me call them back again. You call back and you get another accent, and they talk to you for a second, and then they hang up on you. And it's like, how hard is it to get a hold of these people? Like,
Yeah,
Jesus.
especially if you think it's legit,
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
like
and then I got suspicious. That's why I looked up the number on YouTube, or I just did a random Google search, and that's when Trilogy's video came up. So um, that's what let me know it was a scam.
yeah, that's kind of that's crazy. That I know you mentioned earlier about they prey on like people's fears and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So I was mentioning before we got started about how like the three of us kind of we're generally pretty well versed with I guess YouTube personalities online, and a lot of the I guess the mental health issues that a lot of them go through and all that kind of stuff. Um, what are you guys' thoughts on I guess the type of because Luke mentioned, you know, the fear that these scammers try to put into people's head. What are some of your guys' thought on that, on the fear that they try to instill in people, and what that eventually leads people to do and not do, right? Like they don't come forward because of their fear, a different type of fear,
Yeah.
right? So, what are you guys' thought on that?
Music. You want to take that?
Okay. Um, I think there's the embarrassment of admitting it to people, and so that becomes a secret for them, and then they're in a financial hole. You know, you can't really reach out to people and say, hey, I got scammed and now I can't survive, especially if it's someone on a fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
Because I imagine some people probably dig into their retirement accounts to pay off the scammers. The most disturbing one I've heard of was a teenage boy in Utah who was being sex exploited,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no reason to believe whatsoever that he would commit suicide. And they discovered by looking through his messages later that he had been talking to some scammers from the Ivory Coast, and they had some photos of him, and started to blackmail him with it. And when he wouldn't give them the money, because I'm sure he didn't have the money, they started telling him to kill himself. And then he did.
Wow.
I remember hearing about that one.
I
Yeah,
made a video about that not too long after they discovered that was the reason.
hmm.
That's
And
crazy.
so now when I talk to these romance scammers on Instagram, I always ask myself, is this the type of person who would do this?
It's crazy, huh?
So I love tormenting them. I love making them think they're about to get a bunch of money from me.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular where I told him I finally got my settlement and I'm going to go buy the gift cards you've been asking for. And I told him I was actually getting extra. I told him I had, I think, $4,000 in gift cards. And then later on, I was like, oh no, I don't know what happened. This guy helped me load my groceries into my car and I think he stole them.
The gift cards?
Uh-huh. I strung him along for, I think, 3 months. It was at least 2
I love
months.
that.
So I put on this whole act that I had been injured in a car accident and that I lost my job. I had absolutely no money at all, but that I was going to sue the person who hit me, and my lawyer was guaranteeing that I was going to get like millions of dollars.
So you kept stringing them along.
Yeah.
They're salivating when they hear that kind of stuff.
So at the time, I told him I was discharged from the hospital and now I'm homeless. And I said, but I'm gonna get my money, any day now. I just kept making up one thing after another, and I even went underneath a bridge with a friend and took photos of me in a sleeping bag to
Holy.
to further convince him that I
Nice.
was homeless. And I explained later on in that video why I was doing that, but I should have done that at the beginning because some people thought I was making fun of homeless people, which I wasn't. I was making fun of the fact that this guy believed my story
Yeah.
and the lengths I was going to convince him that I was telling the truth. Because if you don't give them the money as soon as they want it, then they'll just give up on you and move on. And so my goal was to waste as much of his time as possible. And then it was kind of funny when he gave me his email address because he was like too lazy to make a new Gmail, and it actually had, I think, his real name in it. So he had been telling me his name was Michael Hammond, which he spelled Michael. He couldn't even spell Michael correctly. No offense to anyone who might actually spell it like that, but I don't know if there are any. But his Gmail, he said, send the code to this address, and it was like Osa Bi Soon Kanmi something at gmail.com. And so then I went and looked him up on Facebook and I snagged a bunch of his photos. And then I ended up posting it on my decoy account on Instagram.
Hey.
Those aren't my kids this time. Those are Luke's kids.
Max defending the home, man.
And anyway,
sorry.
I posted, so one of the photos was a big wad of Nigerian money in the front seat of a car. Like, he's the kind of guy who like brags about how much money he has.
Yeah.
And so in our private conversation, I ended up posting a photo to him as I was finally wrapping things up. And he goes, "Who is this?" And I go, "You know who." And then he goes, "Laugh out loud." And then he posted like this gif that said he loved me, and that was it. And he didn't even have a meltdown or anything.
Yeah.
He was just kind of, I don't know, entertained.
I don't get meltdowns. I rarely ever get meltdowns.
It's because
like,
you're nice.
Nah, but it's like, I don't know, like I think if I started calling more and started like being more like what's going on, douchebag, or something like that, then maybe I might start getting some meltdowns. But yeah, I usually just kind of try to pretend like the whole time. But I know there's some friggin' really wicked meltdowns from people, man. Like
Yeah,
And
I like to
that's the
keep them
thing too.
guessing until the bitter end.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like even when you think you're gonna get an epic meltdown and people are in chat are like, this is gonna be an epic meltdown. 90% of the time they just hang up or you don't get anything. So
yeah.
you really can't plan it. You don't ever know when to expect it. You just have to hope for it, And I stopped trying to go for it. Me and Day, we kind of do the same thing where we don't even let them know that we're messing with them really. We
Mhm.
just kind of, okay, we'll talk to you later.
Right. You know, like when
But
he's like in the last one, he's like, yeah, you're the last SSA one that I did, I think it was on Canada Day, yeah, on the first,
yeah,
and Wednesday, and he's all kind of like at the end, he's like, okay, yeah, your issue's been resolved. Don't worry about it, let it go. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, thank you. It's almost like that was it. After 3.5 hours, I was like, oh, I expected something,
yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
whatever.
That was amazing, dude, that you had 3.5 hours. Like at one point I had to leave to go to the post office and grab lunch, and I listened to it on the way there and on the way home. I'm
Mhm.
like, he's still fucking going. It was like
Yeah.
that was like 2 hours in, and I
That
kept
was the
listening to the
longest.
rest of it.
That was the longest SSA call I've done.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but you get the meltdowns on the numbers and all that kind of, giving them the quadrillion numbers and things like that.
yeah,
And I get them off the 11s, and I mean we all get our good meltdowns. You just can't expect them.
yeah.
Last summer, when I talked to an IRS scammer for, I think it was 3 hours, 12 minutes, at one point he was like, look, we have been on the phone for 4 hours. And I go, we haven't been on the phone for 4 hours. It's only been 3.
You're like, I wish it was 4.
He was like utterly defeated at the end. And I was exhausted. Like I had been driving all over the place, and I finally stopped to get some food with Sabrina. And I was very unwell at the time. And so once I started eating, that meant I was going to get sick. And so I could have dragged it on even longer,
Yeah,
but I had to eat something. And back then, the only way I could function was to go all day without eating. And then once I was like miserable, hungry, then I'd eat something. But yeah, I had to wrap it up at that point. I was exhausted. I knew I was about to get sick. And I finally, when he's like, look, read me the code right now. Because I told him, okay, just let me eat my food and then I'm going to go out to the parking lot. He's like, no, just read it. And I go, no, scammer. And then he just goes, click. That was it.
Sometimes I find like if you tell them like, look, we've been on the phone this long, like why is this taking so long?
yeah,
It's almost like a thing for them that they then kind of go like, okay, well, ma'am, we're almost done, and it can drag on longer, right? But
Mhm.
if you're the one who brings it up, look, why is this taking so long to get my refund? I don't understand. What they almost kind of go like, okay, like let's take more time with them, almost as if to make this legit, like let's not just hurry it up to end it, but
Mhm.
I don't know, like sometimes I feel like that just seems to work if you just call them out on the time, like we've been on the phone for so long, like why is this taking so long, like almost like it's their fault we were on the phone for so long. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, all of the extra information they give us that just takes longer.
Like their badge numbers and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
all of
Yeah,
that stuff. And their script is just, it's really long. Um, and yeah, I always like, I don't want to help them.
Right.
well, and then the other one that really gets me, that cracks me up, is and I'm pretty sure, I mean, the only thing that makes sense of why they do it is to see if you're really in front of a computer. When they say, what key is in the bottom left hand corner of your
Look on your
keypad, and
keyboard.
what's next to
Mhm.
that, and then what is next to that? And it's like, when you ask me to hit the R button, you don't say, go to your control key and then 3 keys up and then 2 keys over, and it's just like, hit the fucking R button.
Like, enter a period for a dot. What?
It's just so stupid.
What country do you guys think we're from that we don't know what dot means?
Oh, I always get them on that too. Like I always try to like, what do you mean dot? You know, like then they're like, then they go between put a dot and give a dot, right? It's like one of those two. They're like, put a dot. I'm like, what's put a dot? You know, it's like I don't know. It's like is that a bad word in Spanish? You know, it's like so you could do so many things. I think you can literally go off on any little mistake that they make and just kind of reel them in and just. But I think if you push it too much with certain ones, they'll hang up like right away, right? Like they'll know like.
Yeah,
oh,
you
this
have
guy-
to
this
test
guy
out how
freaks me out.
stupid they are
Well, plus
before you start saying ridiculous things.
I think if I was a what would you call it, a scam boss, I'd be like, okay, here's the normal script, take it home, change a bunch of shit on it to where it still works, like the city, the name, you know, the code numbers, to where it's yours, to where you can own it. Like if you've ever been to Chicago, use that as your city because you know it. So if somebody says, hey, you know, Wrigley Field, you know what they're talking about, you know, or something like that. Make it your own. Take it over, not just the same script for a Toyota Corolla.
If I were a scam
El
boss,
Paso,
I
Texas.
would say also get rid of your bad accent and learn English.
Well, it's hard to be.
Exactly.
So
But
I'm not
then-
I'm not trying to defend the scammers, but I'm not gonna lie. Like I was in English as a second language for 3 years. So like most people think like, oh wow, really you were? Because you don't even have an accent. You sound really like pretty clean cut there, buddy. You know, and it's like, well, I had to because so many people made fun of my accent, like made fun of my accent so much that it literally like drove me insane. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna watch Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. I'm gonna watch more freaking DuckTales. I'm gonna watch like all these cartoons, and literally like it over that summer. I just remember watching a lot of TV. And then when I came back in September, my teacher was like, wow, okay, your English is way better. And I had to keep practicing it. But English is a hard language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very
is.
hard language. I'm not trying to defend. Yes, you know, you could say, you know, learn English. I'm glad they don't.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm glad they don't. I'm glad they have horrible accents because then it's like easier for us to help other people identify them as well. Like no guy with a horrible accent is going to be
not really the
Michael
accent.
Thomas.
It's not really the
You know what I
accent.
mean?
It's that they can't. It's like you can't even comprehend what they're saying. You know, it's like, wow. People ask me to add subtitles. I'm like, that's impossible. I can't.
You're like,
I
don't know what he said.
I don't know what they're saying half the time. And so, and I've talked to real tech support where they are from India or another place, and it doesn't really bother me that well, it doesn't bother me at all they have an accent. But don't tell me that your name is John Thompson or something.
Yeah.
And that's what's so laughable about it is, all right, you think you are convincing as an American, or I guess it could be Canadian too.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if would it be more efficient for them if they just actually said their, not necessarily their real name, but you know, without trying to anglinize their name. You know, like if your name is you know, Roberto, you know, Martinez, you know, would you say my name's Robert Martin? You know, I don't know, you know, or Rob, or, you know, but sometimes people do that from other countries to try to sound more believable to whoever is on the other line. But at the same time, like if your accent is like, hello, my name is Rob Martin, you know, it's like, you could be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad the accent is bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
No,
I
I
mean
hope.
I think that probably saves lots of people from getting scammed when,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when the English is really bad.
And I think like going back to like what I was asking earlier, with regards to, you know, oftentimes like the whole idea of the scam is, you know, aside from taking your money, which is obviously a big part of it, is the psychological effect that it actually puts in you, right? Like Luke said, you know, they told me about taxes, and you kind of like were like, oh crap, right? Like there's this kind of like, what if it's real? Or like music said, you know, when they asked for her husband by name, right? It was like this fear of like, you get that sinking feeling in your heart of like, holy crap, like this could be this is real, right?
Yeah.
And then the whole idea of, okay, well, if it is real, then I don't want to, you know, basically give them the wrong information. So I'm going to try to cooperate as much as I possibly can. And then when you find out that it's not real and you've been taken, you've been robbed of this money, then there's this shame aspect to it. So now you have a different kind of fear, I think, in the public eye of coming forward and being like, hey, I got scammed. Like most people don't want to say, hey, I got scammed, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't, because then it makes you look like an idiot. So then there's the fear of what people think, right? I think with this, the whole idea behind scams is literally like to instill all types of fear, you know, and take your money, but fear, like,
A lot of people comment on my videos, anyone who gets scammed deserves it because they're stupid. And
I think that most I think
that
that
makes me mad.
most people that actually get scammed are, I think it's just good timing on the scammer's behalf. Like like for instance, that guy that was on the UFO stream where it was live and he gave out his number on the stream, and we started calling him and trying to let him know. But at the time he was going through um some stolen identity stuff. So he was waiting for calls from PayPal, who they were claiming to be. He was waiting for calls from his credit card company, and he was supposed to be transferring some stuff around. And you know, the timing just worked out just right for him to believe it. You know, it'd be like, you know, if you're, I got a call once from, I've never heard of it being a scam that goes around, but from UPS saying, hey, we know you got a package coming. What are you awaiting? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do have a package coming. It just happened to be a pretty high dollar Michael Jordan card. And I was
Mm.
like, yeah, it's a Michael Jordan card. And they're like, well, it's stuck here in customs and we need $500 to send it. And
Oh,
I was like,
geez.
oh shit, well, the card's worth twice that. So it might be worth it to send the $500. And, you know, but then they started getting really pushy and
Mm.
kind of demanding. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So it
but
set me back, but it turned out to be a scam, obviously. But you know, it's all timing. If you're doing your taxes or you're getting your taxes back and you're awaiting it and you need it, and someone calls saying they're from the taxes, you may listen to them.
yeah, it's true. And I think part of the importance of like scam baiters, I don't want to say like getting organized, because I think to a certain extent like we all just do our own thing and we do it differently, so differently. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because then it makes it very diverse, not just for if you're making videos or if you're putting out content, but more or less like, so the scammers don't really know what's coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It could, this could be a legit person, and it's just everyone does it so differently that I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a good thing. But the reason why they have so much success is because they're working with like the law of large numbers, right? They get all these auto dialers that send out all these calls that leave these ridiculous voicemails for people, right? And then whoever calls back, it's they're playing the numbers, right? And there's so
yeah,
many more calls going out to potential victims than coming into the scam centers, that's why they're kind of like, you know, we're maybe making a dent, but we're not really like really hitting them. You know what I mean? And I wish that we'll get to a point where we are actually like, you know, really, really, really hitting them. But there are tons of scam baiters, man, tons of scam baiters. Like you hear it on UFO pilots streams,
yeah.
right? There's so many of us. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be like one specific person in you know, per se, but I think that's what they have going for them. It's like what Luke was saying, to Luke's point, the timing of it, right? They put out so many calls, it's bound to work on someone.
Yeah.
Right? It's bound to.
I read an article years ago that said it used to take them about 400 calls to find a victim, and then once they started auto dialing, it took 200 calls before they would find a victim. So
Where was that? You read that?
I don't. It was just an article I read a long time ago,
Okay.
and I thought, you know, if everyone would waste their time when they call instead of just hanging up. A lot of people comment, "I don't waste my time. I just hang up on these guys." Even if you just said, "Hey, can you hang on for a little bit?
Yeah.
I was just about to do, you know, whatever." That would make a huge difference if just every single person would keep them hanging for even a minute or two. And also get them so frustrated that they will become, you know, you can tell when they've had a bad day, like they get really impatient and it becomes more obvious that they're a scammer, I think. So
Somebody
for the,
whistling Star Wars.
no, it's Jurassic Park.
Oh, Jurassic Park. That's right,
That
Jurassic Park.
That was a good guess, though. So yeah, when people are like, "Hey, can you do a you know, a live stream or whatever at this time?" It's like, I have no idea what's gonna be going on in this house because we have 7 people living in it. There's always someone awake. At
I hear you, sister. I hear you.
because we have teenagers and a 20-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and an
That's a
11-year-old.
wide range.
So, yes, it's very hard for me to plan anything, and I never promise uploads to people. They say to upload on a schedule, and it's just never going to happen for me.
Yeah. What's something you feel like maybe if you hadn't come across Scambaiting, what's something that you feel like you've learned because of Scambaiting? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you about that?
I've learned just how many people actually get scammed and the variety of types of people who get scammed, because I used to assume it was mostly elderly people, but sometimes it's a language barrier. Like if someone is not that familiar with how our country works and how you pay your taxes, like Alogical did a video years ago, and it was, she wasn't doing an interview, but there was a man, I think from Mexico, talking about what happened to him with the IRS scam. And I think he just wasn't familiar with the fact that, you know, they only send letters. And I knew of a guy who just came back from his mission and he was super sleep deprived and he fell for a scam, even though he's like in his early 20s. And I was just totally shocked by that. I had a friend message me and she goes, "This boy I know just got back from his mission and he just got scammed." So sleep deprivation can do crazy things to people too.
Yeah.
It can affect your judgment. But what I don't understand is how people get to the gift card point. I just don't understand why they don't find that fishy. And because if they were just to call somebody or message them and mention, "Hey, this is what's going on," their friends could say, "Hey, that is a scam, hang up." And even though I've told my father-in-law lots of times about what I do, after our recent visit to Utah, he gave remote access to a tech support scammer. And after a while, he started to feel concerned, so he called his son, and his son said, "That is a scam. Shut off your computer now." And my father-in-law said, "I didn't think I was capable of being scammed." Wow. And I had specifically told him about that kind of scam.
Yeah.
So that's a little frustrating when I feel like I can't even save my own family as they're getting older and more prone to confusion. It's really,
Yeah.
I've had that happen to friends too. Well, sometimes it's not a matter of the people calling them, but I had a friend who got an Amazon Echo and he was having trouble setting it up. So he Googled the phone number for tech support. And of course, the very first thing that popped up, this is something Google needs to address. The very first thing that popped up was a scam number.
It's SEO.
Yeah. So he called the first number on there and he gave them remote access, and luckily he figured it out before they did anything to his computer.
Yeah, it is messed up.
When I hear these stories though, especially from people I know, it just makes me want to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, it gives me urges
It helps
to
somebody out there. It may not help somebody directly
yeah.
that you're involved with. Because I mean, I would agree. Like, I'm pretty sure that 99% of people that actually know me in real life have never seen any of my videos. Like, they don't care. They don't want to see it. They don't give a shit. So it's people that I don't know that are watching these videos.
Yeah.
So if one of those people learns something or is able to pass on the info, that's good. But I mean, even my best friend, if he got scammed, I wouldn't be like, you should have watched my videos. It's like,
What
hey,
did you watch? Didn't you watch my video? I put out a video.
watch
Come
my
on, man.
videos?
Yeah.
I don't send videos to my relatives,
I don't either.
but
Yeah.
I do, unless it's something I find especially relevant and funny that they would like. But I talk directly about scams to my relatives. That's where it gets frustrating. Like, I told you about that.
So you know, Sarah, earlier you mentioned like you don't get like the gift card part, like how people can fall for the gift card part.
Right.
So I was thinking about that, like as you were discussing that and talking about that, I was thinking, I think part of the issue may be that, you know, there are, for example, if you want to get car insurance, they always say, well, talk to a broker and shop around, right? That's usually what people would say. And so these brokers have access to a bunch of different companies that they can get you the best rate, all that kind of, they'll say that kind of stuff, right? And I wonder when these guys say, you know, we have, because their whole thing is that this is a federally, a federal government voucher, like we've partnered with these companies. And so I wonder if people can look at that, like, and think maybe it is true that the government may have partnered with, especially these big companies like Apple or Google or something like that, right? To say maybe there is something there. I'm not saying that that's, you know, obviously that we know that's not true, but I think maybe that might be something that goes through someone's head of like, that's possible that it may be true because of that reason.
Yeah.
So,
well, what's interesting is you go, well, can I pay by check or can I pay this way? No, your account has been frozen or something like that.
right.
Okay,
Or
but if my account's frozen, I shouldn't be able to go buy gift cards either.
What'd you say, though?
Oh, I said, yeah. They say, I don't know. I lost track. Yeah, I forgot what we were talking about.
Your account's been frozen. When they say your account's been frozen.
Yeah,
Like
you say to them, okay, can I pay by check? Can I pay over the phone by my debit card? And they say your account's been frozen. But then at the same time, they're telling you to go to the store and buy gift cards. Well, if my accounts are frozen, how am I going to buy the gift cards?
Yeah, there's so many holes with their but I think people just don't catch that, right? Again, I think it's the fear that gets placed on them, and it really, like, I remember someone that I know was being catfished, right, by a romance scammer. And I mean, for months, the scammer never asked for money for months, right? All they were doing is just building this like social engineering, this relationship with this person, and just really making them feel comfortable and at ease, and you know, all that kind of stuff, right? They're buttering them up for the big, like, oh, by the way, honey, you know, love, all the words that they use to kind of prey on. Oftentimes it's like the older women who are maybe lonely, or maybe have gone through some kind of dramatic heartbreak or something in their lives, and they're just kind of looking for love again, you know, like those kinds of people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know, when we, because we did some investigating with like some family members, because it was a family member of ours, and we did some investigating, and we looked through like the message history and all this other stuff. And like oftentimes the scammer would say, make sure you delete your message history with me, because you know, I'm a military representative and I can't have my conversations recorded, right? Like, it was crazy. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Mhm.
times the conversations would disappear, right? And I was like, what the freak? And anyways, it came back to the whole the fear of finding also out that that is not a real person,
Yeah.
right? And just they've built this like massive relationship with this person online, right? Like,
Mhm.
you look at, you know, sometimes you think, how could someone be so dumb to fall for a romance scammer or all this other stuff? But I mean, you look at even the scam baiting world, you look at people that, you know, are scam baiters, and you look at people who watch scam baiters, and they've gotten so accustomed to some of these people that they'll always say stuff like, you know, I love you, Luke, you know, I love you. And it's like, uh, you know, or you just throw the word I love you out there just for the sake of saying it. Or, you know what I mean? Like, we've never met in person. What do you mean you love me? You know, it's like there's a certain affection that happens, right?
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that. Like, you may say like, oh, how is it possible for that person to get scammed? But you have a certain affection to you grow affectionate to some people. Like, they become like really good friends of yours, you know? Like, I've never met Luke, right? Never met Luke, but I guarantee you that if I'm ever down there in that area, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you up and be like, dude, should we like catch a burger or something? You know, like,
Mhm.
why? Because I feel like I can. Do you know what I mean?
So
Now,
what you're saying is that you love Luke?
Yeah.
I love Luke. I love Luke.
Yeah, so
Well,
do I.
you guys are gonna laugh
He
when I
has the
say this.
cutest giggle ever.
Thank
There it
you.
is. There it is.
You're gonna laugh when I say this, but for as far as like the love scams and shit go, I
Mhm.
started watching the show 90 Day Fiance
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's basically that's what every one of them is. 'Cause it's a show about people having 90 days to get their K-1 visa to get married to somebody who's from another country,
yeah.
and 90% of the people on the show are being scammed by the other side, and it's just fun. It's fun to watch both sides because A, you're seeing a scammer at work, like how they're doing it, you know, and then B,
Mhm.
how somebody could be so fucking clueless on the other end too. It's like, how can you not be catching on? And I hate to say clueless because, you know, some people that are getting scammed, they don't know what's going on. They don't realize it. When you got so many people
Mhm.
around you telling you this isn't right, and you know, you should be able to realize it. But and that
The
kind of brings me
room
back to that little piece or the UFO call where little piece, me, Nikki, there's a lot of people
I called.
calling the
Yeah,
guy's cell phone, like, and the scammer on the other line's like, oh, those are the hackers, don't answer the calls.
yeah.
And we're just like, dude, all you need to do is answer one of these calls and you'll know it's a scam. Your day is saved.
Mhm.
Like, answer the call. Like,
the romance
call them.
scams I think would be especially embarrassing because you probably told them personal information
Oh yeah.
as you trust them. So, you know, the tech support scammers, you're not going to tell them all the, you know, details of your life.
But they
Ick.
can steal those details off your computer.
True. I mean, the tech support scam makes me really mad just because they can hose your computer and they can um, lock you out of your computer. And like one of my worst fears as a mom is like losing all of my photos,
Yeah.
which I do have backed up. But even though I have them backed up multiple places, I still worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's again, see,
So
but it comes down to like it's not even money that they're going to be taking from you. It's like
yeah.
it's again the sentimental aspect of it too, right? It's the feeling, right? It's the feeling that these freaking people cause people, right? That's what freaking, that's really what pisses me off. I don't want to say, you can always make money back and money's not important, and money is important, man. If you didn't have money, you don't eat, right? You don't have money,
Right.
you don't have a roof over your head. Like, money is up there with oxygen as in importance, right?
Right.
But what I mean is, like, it's the there's so many people who have tons of money and they will hurt themselves, right? Even though they have money. So it's obviously it's more of like a sentimental thing. Like, it's a mind thing. It's really, they're freaking really destroying someone's mental stability, really, I feel, with the way the scams kind of go and work and stuff like that. So
Well, I think especially when you're older, you don't have time to financially recover.
yeah.
If you're young and you get scammed, you're going to pull through it somehow. And, Trilogy Media, they did that GoFundMe for that elderly woman, Susan.
Susan, yeah.
But then I think others too have mentioned, well, she's prone to getting scammed again. Because if there is some dementia
Possible.
there, I have a friend whose aunt has been scammed many times by the same scammers. To
Yeah.
I think she's paid like $25,000, and her family will like take her phone away, and then she'll get a new phone.
It's
Wow.
once your phone number's known, like, I think Day used to use your phone. I
Yep.
I used to use my phone when I first started, and I didn't. Even today, I'll call scammers using my phone. I'm not worried about that. But once they get your number and they have a name attached to it, you're getting calls all day. And I literally block every number that I get a call from after I mess with them. But I'll get a call back from that same company the same day from a different number. So I'll get 15 calls a day from the same company,
Mm-hmm.
even though I blocked every one of those numbers. But I'm on a
Yeah.
call list. They're calling me. So I guarantee that lady that was being scammed for 2 years, that was on that video that we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
her number's on that list, and they're calling her. She's going to get hit again by something else or
Mm-hmm.
She's
something.
vulnerable. She's
Yeah.
vulnerable, right? So, and the scammers
Yeah.
know that. The
And
scammers.
what was interesting to me is these two strangers come to her door to talk to her about the scam, and I think a lot of people, like if they were younger, they might go, "Whoa, who are you?" Because to me that shows she's prone to being scammed again, because she wasn't more suspicious about who they were.
Yeah.
Like, kind
But
of.
also
Like,
we
hey,
may
can we
we may
come
not
in
have,
and talk to you for a few minutes? Come on in.
but maybe she did. Maybe we just didn't see that either, right? Maybe we
Yeah.
just didn't see that. Like, it's
It
possible
could be.
that
I would just like, if I were scammed like that, I would be afraid to open my door to anyone.
yeah, I could see.
So
But
I don't know.
then again, she only knew that she had gotten scammed the one time and didn't realize that this was also part of get like she was been getting scammed like for so long either,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. All right, so all of us, just to kind of wrap up, guys, I don't want to take too much of your time, but to wrap up, I know all of us do like older people, I guess you could say. I was gonna say geezers, but I don't know if that's politically correct. But we all do like older people voices. So Luke, you've got your grandpa voice, and is it the same character you use every single time?
Yeah. I don't really have characters. I just one day did
But
that.
the name, but the name.
Yeah, the Richard Scant. I'd use a few different ones for him, but my name's Richard. I got a grandson named Billy. He has dementia. He's always forgetting shit. I'm still working on it though. I just noticed my phone's at 5%, so I might lose you guys here in
Yeah,
a minute.
no worries. We're
Oh,
about to
okay.
end up. So And you're always, I think one of my favorite things that you do, I honestly, dude, I bust out laughing just, especially when it comes up, is this Billy? You know, like when you ask is this Billy? I
Just
freaking,
me mid conversation. They're like, yeah,
yeah.
we need to get your credit card number, and we'll get that gift card out. Is this Billy? Is this you, Billy?
It's the best.
They're like, no, sir, this is Mark Wilson with the.
I did one where I called him a different name about every 2 minutes and he never corrected me.
Those are the best too.
Yeah, those are good.
They're just so clueless, man. And they might be like, oh, it's an old guy and whatever, right? So, but anyways, guys, we're gonna wrap up. Thank you so much for your input. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. If you haven't checked out Luke's Doghouse, make sure you check it out. He's right over here. Sorry, it's like backwards on my thing here. And then Sarah is down here below. So make sure you check
Hi.
her out. She's she's the glitchy one.
Oh, is it working again?
Yeah, it's working now, I think.
Wait,
Kind of.
let's see.
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah, it's working.
it's like a
Right here the whole
miracle.
time.
Right at the end. But anyways,
Yeah.
guys, thank you so much. Make sure you
I
check out
have
Sarah as
acne
well.
anyway, so
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And we'll
thanks
talk
for
later.
having
Everybody.
us.
Thank you.
Peace.
Later, guys.
Bye.
All right, that's the end of this episode. If you haven't had a chance to yet, feel free to check out the other clickbait episodes right over here, as well as a huge thank you to all the members for your continued support. And yeah, just go check out these videos, all right? Take it easy. Peace. Seriously, you could just check out the videos. Bye.